Welcome to the first podcast for 2025. And I'm still getting used to saying 2025, and I'm still getting used to writing 25 instead of 24. If you're anything like me, it could take you a whole month to move out of that last year and be present and write down easily that date for that next year. That's where I'm at, but really excited to be back podcasting, back delivering hopefully some really valuable information to you in the Bariatric Nutrition Coach podcast. What I do at the end of a year or every so often is really look and see what content that I'm putting out is the most valuable. What are people responding to the most? Comments, feedback, what's getting the most questions? And there are really two key areas that pop out in the podcast, or two key kind of categories that are really popular. We're getting a lot of lovely feedback and people saying they find it really valuable. One is when I do sessions like today and give very practical education and training. And so I'm going to be doing more of those. And I say practical because it needs to be practical. It's one thing to know what to do. It's another thing to put it in practice. It's another thing to put the rubber on the road and be able to make those changes and kind of move forward. Practical education and training, that's one. The other kind of category of podcasts that you're really responding to are guests. And I've had some professionals in the area that are related to or in bariatric weight loss surgery area on my podcast, and I'm going to have more of those this year. Plus, I am sharing or getting more of my wonderful clients who are the ones that are game to jump on to podcasts and share their story, because there's so much wonderful benefit from hearing other people's stories. You don't have to be exactly like that person, but we can pick up and relate to certain people's stories and really help feel less isolated, understand some of the things, maybe with the challenges we're going through. It's not just us. There's a lot of value for the client stories that are sharing their journey, but also sharing the progress they've made in the program, sharing the gains that they've got and how they're moving forward and managing their struggles. And also I do have people on podcasts as well, and people love the episodes, and they're not my clients, but they're sharing their bariatric journey. More of that is coming this year. Today's topic is about, and it's practical, simple steps to getting back on track, say after the holiday period. It doesn't have to be the Christmas, New Year holiday period. It can be you've gone on holiday and you come back and you're a little bit, I call it discombobulated, you've lost schedule, you're out of your groove. I'm going to be walking you through 3 key practical steps that are simple, yet easy to do, and are going to help you get a bit more focus and to kind of turn the ship around, I call it. You're going down a path and you've come onto a path or a direction in your life, in your ocean, and we're going to move it back into that direction that we want to go in. Stick around and listen to the end, because I'm going to be walking through 3 practical steps to getting back on track. Okay, step 1. Where are we going to start when we are off track, not feeling great, maybe feeling in a bit of a pothole or a bit stuck or not feeling really positive? Step 1 is to embrace compassion with yourself. There's a bit more to it. I'm going to go through it, but I've got compassion kind of at the top because it's super key. Compassion. We're going to reflect, and I'm going to ask you to reflect on the holiday period, the time that you've gone off track. You reflect and you acknowledge, but we don't want to ruminate. We don't want to stay in that space of feeling not great about ourselves, shame, going over those events or what we've done that we didn't want to do, or what we haven't done that we think we should have done. Ruminate over that again and again in our mind. We want to acknowledge it. You are human. Perfection is not needed to be successful after weight loss surgery. It is about moving forward. And it's easier to move forward when we can reflect, and ideally, we also learn. We can say, there was that episode and I went to that party, or there was this scenario. I didn't maybe manage it as well as I could have, or I possibly could have. what else could I have done? Can I learn from that opportunity? Can I learn from that scenario what happened? Because that is the goal. That's what we want to, then we take that going forward and we work on it, we improve it. When we're in that space of compassion, it's a lot easier to reflect in a gentle way on where you're coming from and also move forward and look forward. And I say when we are compassionate and have fostering that self-care, it is a lot easier to look after yourself. It's a lot easier to make those more positive choices. That's step one, is embrace compassion. Realize you're a human, you are not perfect, you're not a robot. Everyone will drift off track after weight loss surgery. It is not if, it's when, because there's no one that's ever come and worked with me that's never been off track. It's just reality. It's just life. And the holiday periods are really very challenging to keep schedule, many more temptations, lots of emotions. It's very normal. Compassion, reflect, and then we look forward. That is step one. Step two is a simple step, especially for how to do this. And it's actually just really simple, 3 days in a row, 3 consecutive days of tracking food. If you like using an app, you can use an app. But if you don't, you can definitely, and I really love the pen on paper tracking. I'm not talking about tracking for 3 weeks. I'm not talking about tracking for a whole week. I'm talking about tracking for 3 consecutive days in a row. I love simple pen on paper tracking. What you're eating, what you're drinking, estimating your protein, and it's observation. I'm not suggesting that we're doing tracking to see if we're good or not good. What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? That's not what we're doing tracking for. We're doing tracking to observe, to get a better idea of where we are. Also, tracking brings awareness and more mindfulness into what we're putting in our mouths and our habits, because you can also put on your activity there. You can write little notes next to things about how you're feeling or if you've overeaten and what you've noticed about your intake. It's an act of journaling. It's a way of journaling. It's a way of recording and getting more awareness about where you are right now. And it's capturing where are you now. And when I'm working with my clients and say we're working through and doing some food tracking, which we do, we are also then reflecting back and looking at that tracking. And I am always telling them, showing them what I'm looking for. What do you want to be looking at? What are you doing well? What are those habits and food choices that you want to keep doing? Because they're great. We're not just looking at the negative, air quotes negative. We are looking at what are you doing well? What do we want to keep doing? What do we want to keep fostering? That's the first thing. Number 2, we're looking for maybe what's changed. What have I stopped doing that I was doing before when I was in more of my zone? Have I stopped my high protein breakfast? Have I stopped my afternoon snack? Am I not doing as much movement? I'm not drinking as much. What have I started doing? Have I started including a little bit of salty, crunchy snacks later? What if I started another milky coffee, or I've gone back to drinking more juices in the morning? So it's really observation. What have I started doing that I wasn't doing before? And what have I stopped doing? What's the spread of my protein like? Is it a good amount in the morning? Is it kind of roughly even as well? What have I changed? It's learning, it's capturing, it's observing, and we're more often to be able to pick out the gold out of your tracking when we're compassionate and open. Because when you're compassionate with yourself and you're open, it's a lot easier to identify opportunities. When we're not feeling good, our blinkers are going to be on. That's why it's put compassion first, reflection, and then moving forward. Number 2, and I'm recapping, 3 consecutive days of intake tracking, food and fluid tracking. And then number three is when we kind of move into the action of moving forward. We've done compassion, we've done observation, and we're now moving into action. And I recommend you choose 1 or 2 key habits to do more of. Let me explain why I'm talking about habits and also do more of. Often When people come to work with me, people chat with possible clients or clients chat with people all the time. I say, I need to stop snacking. I need to stop having that meal. I need to stop overeating. I need to stop. And that is not a positive kind of approach. It's not a positive mindset. It's not something you can easily do because you're stuck doing that habit. I prefer to say, what are we going to start doing? And often when you're talking about something you want to stop, there's actually something you can start doing that helps decrease and helps stop that other behavior. We're looking at what you eat, yes, but we're also looking really at one or two key habits that you can start focusing on doing more. So when you look at your observation, okay, I want to start by having more of a high protein breakfast. I've noticed I'm snacking in the afternoon on bits and pieces of like a little bit of here, a little bit there at afternoon at work from the lunchroom. I'm going to start having a mindful, deliberate, high protein snack. And I can see that I'm not moving my body like I was a few months ago. I'm going to start going for a walk in the morning or a walk at lunchtime. But it's a lot more positive to look at what are you going to start. And we're only looking at one or two key habits. My clients, when they work with me, we really embed and practice. I call them weight loss surgery foundation eating habits. They are the key habits that help you not only get the best result from your surgery, but also keep it. And these habits are what we want to continue. It's often the habits that we're looking at this step, one or two key habits. When you start doing those, other things fall into place. You may say, oh, my schedule's gone out. I've really noticed when you do 3-day track, I'm just skipping meals. It's not regular. That could be could be one thing you do focus on. For the next couple of weeks, I'm going to get back into my schedule. Because when I get back into my schedule, guess what? I notice it helps regulate my appetite. I'm not getting hungry by the afternoon that I can't control my snacking. I'm getting higher protein intake over the day and I'm feeling more satisfied overall. Often one or two key things to focus on is all you need and is enough. When you try and focus on too many things at once, that's when things are not successful, you don't see any progress, and you throw everything out the window and you get stuck in a rut. Recap on the 3 simple steps to get yourself back on track after the holidays or after any kind of period where you've gone off track. Number 1 is that compassion, that reflection, learning from where you can see improvements could have been made, but then looking forward. Number 2 is 3 consecutive days of food tracking and then some reflection and observation of those behaviours. Number 3 is choosing 1 or 2 key behaviours to do more of, to focus on and to foster over a couple of weeks. That can help you just really turn that ship around and move back into a positive space. I wanted to share kind of where it comes from. Why does Jane pull these points out? Why is it only this? Why isn't it this other thing or this other thing and more information or more science or anything like that? I have worked for about 7 years now. We've popped over 7 years in the area of bariatrics. And I've worked with so many clients over the years that I really know the behaviours and the food choices that are really key for success after weight loss surgery. And we're not just talking getting the most weight loss, all the benefits that you can out of your bariatric surgery. Yes, that's super important. But I also know what we need to do to keep all those benefits and those successes. And it really, what underpins everything is behaviour change. Behaviour change is not easy. Behaviour change is hard, and most people find it hard to do it on their own. That's why I do what I do. I work with clients all over the world to support them to make those changes. And what do? We come together in the beginning when we're working together and we really go, where are we now? Let's do some observation and then let's come up with your personal goals. And then my job, I'm a dietitian. Yes, I'm an RD and bariatric dietitian, but I call myself a coach because the way I work with my clients is a coaching way. We really chunk down your goals into really nice bite-sized chunks, I call it. And we work at a pace that suits you. When we try and do too much at once, it just doesn't work. It is not about doing 10 new things at once. It's not about overloading yourself. And there is a mindset, a component to the work that I do, because that is really important. Fostering more of a positive mindset, helping you, if you're working with me, help you move out of when you get stuck in a rut. And that's really important. If you get stuck in a pothole, my job is to help get you out and move forward. And it's not necessarily about moving forward at a sprint. It can be at a walk. That's great, because this is a lifelong journey. And this is about behavior change and making small changes over time that have big long-term consequences, not just from a weight perspective, but from a health, quality of life perspective. My program has 3 different levels of coaching. I have different levels from a financial level, but also from a level of one-on-one coaching. All levels have some one-on-one coaching. And there's some community in there, there's education, there's very practical coaching that helps you move forward. Most people will need support as part of their journey. And that's a big thing that I talk about as well, is it is not uncommon. It's not you being a failure if you feel you need some help to change things. It is just human nature. It is just what we need. It's such a big change after having bariatric surgery. There's so many changes we ask of you, and it can be really overwhelming. I think of bariatric surgery a bit like you're throwing a pack of cards up in the air, and then you're trying to work out getting them to all fall in the right place. And it can feel that overwhelming. How do I do that? And when things get a bit scrambled, how do I unscramble them? How do I feel more confident in my journey? And that's what I do. I work with my clients individually, but I've got 3 different levels of coaching. And I want to explain that a little bit more. It's not a one size fits all. It's really finding out what level suits you and working then towards your personal goals. Thank you so much for listening. And this week, this will be valid for when this goes, but I've got about 4 or 5, maybe about 4 or 5 places in my boot camp available in the beginning of January. If you wanted to apply to find out more about my coaching and support with no pressure obligation, please send me an application form. There might be less places available at that point, but please reach out. We can get to know each other and you can get to see if I'm actually the right person for you. Thank you so much for listening to the first episode of the Bariatric Nutrition Coach podcast for 2025. I'm really excited to be back. Thank you so much for listening and for your support. And if you do find value in my podcast, I would love you to share it with someone else. Share it with somebody you think that they might find it valuable. If you share it online, that would be lovely. If you're into social media and you want to share it to someone in social media, tag me and I'll give you a shout out here. I'll give you a personal shout out here. That would be wonderful. Thank you so much. And I look forward to being back in your next week. Bye for now.